Well, hey everyone, in this video, we're going to be engaging with a caller who calls into Dave Ramsey's show and having to do with money and marriage.
I was wondering, when people get married, what do they do with their finances? How do they just suddenly combine everything?
Yes.
They do?
Yes.
And split everything right down the middle?
No. You combine everything. There's no middle.
I love, well, one of the things, I don't know if it's a product of the idea that Dave Ramsey has just been around and sort of doesn't have, won't suffer fools now, or if just as you get older, you just get a little bit more straightforward. But I love the clarity and straightforwardness here. Do people just combine their money? Yep. So they split it? Nope. They combine it. He'll get into this, but this is one of the great truths of marriage, that you join your lives together when you come together, and that certainly includes money.
The preacher didn't say, and now you're a joint venture. He said, and now you're one.
So what if one person makes more than the other?
You're not a partnership. You're a marriage.
You're not a partnership. You're a marriage. You're not a joint venture, as he said. You're a marriage. And part of why this is striking, this should be obvious. So what he's talking about should be just ground level obvious for us as believers in Jesus. When you get married, it's not my money and your money. It's not his money and her money. One of the reasons that happens a lot is because people are looking to sort of make sure that they're going to be okay if the marriage doesn't work out. Like, make sure I still have my money. And it can bring incredible conflict, incredible lack of trust. I remember reading a story about where some woman was talking about she had some debt, and so she borrowed money from her husband to pay off the debt. And then it was sort of implied like now there was some resentment because she hadn't yet paid him back. And I just thought this is one of the most bizarre things I've ever heard. The idea of I'm borrowing money from my spouse to help pay off a debt, and then I'm going to somehow pay them back. When you get married, you are one flesh. You are together in everything. And one of the things that stands out is with this caller, with the woman who's calling, she's clearly very thrown off by this. This is not the answer that she thought she was going to be getting, because this has become increasingly uncommon in the world as a whole and even among Christians.
There is no, let me give you an example, okay?
Okay.
My wife has not had an earned income for 30 years. She stayed home with our children. I do not have an income. We have an income. It's as much hers as it is mine. Spiritually, morally, and by the way, legally.
Okay.
And so it's our income, and she and I sit down. Were she to earn an income, it would be put in a pile with mine, and I don't get more votes if I make more money.
Oh, okay.
We both have a vote. We both are going to sit down together. We love each other. We are going to decide about you're hearing my pronouns here, it's ours. We own everything. The only thing that is not ours is if the dog poops on the floor, that's my dog. But other than that, we share it.
All right.
Again, one of the things that's a little bit sad to me in the video is just how clearly confused the caller is, how this just seems to be a brand new concept to her. And it does make me even just realize within our churches, we need to make sure that we're bringing clarity to this about what marriage actually is. I will throw in, I think that there are, I don't even want to say exceptions, there are some cases that are slightly more complicated. I've had discussions with couples where it's a second marriage, and either because they're widowed or because of a divorce, and especially like in one case I'm thinking of where the woman was a widow. There was some when they were engaged, there was some thought towards like, all right, me and my first husband, we saved up to take care of the kids, and so like we have like I have this bunch of money that's meant to go to help the adult children and then the grandchildren, and sort of like, does that just go in the pot of us being married? And so I think that there can be a reasonable solution to that, where you can either say, hey, we're going to put that in a trust, or we're going to put that in a certain account that's designated for this, or even the idea of saying when you get married in that case to sort of agree together, to say, hey, we are agreeing together that this money is going to this priority, But then from there on out, that your money is just your money. You're just together in this. It can be incredibly harmful if one of the spouses sort of has money that's theirs, that's not the other's. I think the other exception, this is a very small thing, but Karina and I have in our budget a category that just every month goes in. We call it mad money. I know other people use the same idea, where there's just, and it's not a massive amount, there's just a certain amount of money in the budget that just I get and that she gets. It's the same amount, where it's just use that on whatever you want. If you're out and you want to stop by Chick-fil-A, use it on that. If you want to buy a new Kindle book, like you don't have to fit it into the budget. That's just yours. You're sort of not answerable to the other in that sort of case. I think that's a great thing to do. I think that eases, it sort of takes the pressure off a little bit, just to say, man, when we started off in marriage, it was like, I think it was like $15 a month. I mean, it was a tiny amount, but it still was nice to say like, hey, if I decide that I want to stop by Burger King and just get this, we were on a shoestring budget. I don't have to say, hey, I spent our money on this. But other than that, your money is your money. You are together in this. And I know for some people there is a fear. I think in particular for women, there's a fear, although increasingly I think maybe for men too, because divorce court is not friendly to men. Of trying to protect yourself against your spouse. And I feel like it's understandable because of how rampant divorce is that somebody would deal with that temptation. But man, you go into marriage trying to protect yourself against your spouse, trying to make sure I'm not going to be taken advantage by you. That is a recipe for failure. You have left behind father and mother, and you are one flesh, and you got to be all in. And if you're not all in, you're probably going to end up sort of having a self-fulfilling prophecy where you're going to say, hey, I knew this wasn't going to work out, because you went into it holding back a part of yourself. And money is a huge way that we hold back a part of ourselves. And man, you got to be in it together.